Enrique, Magic in the Morning. You can run, but you can't hide. That's kind of a good lead-in to our chat with Mike Barrett this week. You can't hide from Mother Nature. Well, or at least the havoc that she wreaks on us. And that's going to be part of our theme this morning as we talk insurance and how you can get the most out of yours for the best coverage. Mike in the studio, how are you?
I'm good. I'm glad you continued on that thought. I was like running and can't hide. I'm like, is he about to throw me under the bus? Where am I going here? But yes.
All right. Two things to start things off here. Good policies every Tuesday morning at this time, 8:35.
Yes.
You've moved into your new office.
Yes. All the signs are up, too. Put another sign up over the weekend.
So folks aren't coming in to get their front line?
They probably still will.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Make it three things. You had to check in with us remotely last week because, again, you guys had a scare with COVID and young Ethan.
Yes.
The first time, unfortunately, he tested positive, but fortunately, he came out of it good on the other side.
Yeah.
This time, he was a close contact. What's come out of this?
Yeah, so the entire second grade at his school was identified as a close contact on the first or second day of school. Literally, they had 2 days of school before this happened. So they all had to go into quarantine. And in order to go back, you have to have a negative test or wait 14 days. So if there's ever was a time that I wanted my son to fail a test, it was this one. And so he tested Friday morning per the guidelines and got our results yesterday morning. And it was kind of a congratulatory, you failed. You're negative, which is what we wanted. So,
here's the cookie, Ethan.
Yeah.
All right.
He goes, all right, Dad, can I get some money now? I'm like, for what? He's like, I tested negative. I'm like, no, you don't get money for testing negative for COVID. So
No.
Because that could become expensive over the school year.
It could. All right. So that's good. We're happy to hear that. That also means that you and Jen aren't in any danger either.
Yeah.
So where we were going about the Mother Nature's wreaking havoc. No, I wasn't throwing you under the bus. We had some pretty serious storms hit yesterday. There have been more serious storms, obviously, Irene and so on and so forth.
Sure,
that, right?
Sure.
But I lost power yesterday. I don't know if anybody else did, but I understand over in your neck of the woods, it was pretty interesting yesterday with the weather. What happened?
Yeah. So I mean, it was the passing, showers and thunderstorms. So we had a couple roll through around 1 o'clock or so, another round around 3 o'clock, another round around 5 o'clock. And that one at 5 o'clock was the real one. That was the one that, there was one bolt of lightning that was obviously very close because the whole house shook when the thunder went. So it was right there. And so it got me thinking, as technology advances, as all these things get introduced into your household, do you have proper coverage on your personal property via your homeowner policy? And this can play both into a regular homeowner, Jeff, but also into a renter's homeowner policy.
Now, this is interesting that you would say that because I was telling you before we went on the air, I lost my power, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I was working on a project at home. I'm just now finally getting my computer that died back up and running. We had a couple of waves of storms up our way, too. And I said, that sounds like it's going to be pretty big. I should probably shut this off.
Yep.
So 2 minutes go by. I just finished my project, just hit save, and the power went out. Now, I have a surge suppressor.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, we didn't get struck by lightning. But that is one of the things that folks lose most often if they're not properly protected, right?
Correct, yeah. Power can become the big issue of being on and off or surge or brownout or all these different things that can happen with electrical current, which is feeding all of your technological devices that are spread out throughout your home. It used to be simple. You had a toaster, you had a coffee pot, you had a TV, a cable box. Well, now you've got a $1,500 washer. You've got a $1,200 dryer in some cases that are all on power. You have these different monitoring devices like electronics, like Alexa devices or computers or peripherals that are connected. These are all things that can have problems when you get these surges or differentials in power current. And so the thing that I was thinking about is the typical homeowner policy is a special form homeowner. And this is where I'm going to start talking Greek to some people, and I promise I'll break it down. A Form 3 homeowner policy is probably the most common homeowner policy out there, and it gives you sudden and accidental loss to your house and buildings coverage, but then broad form coverage for your personal property. So you got 17 named perils that it has to be one of those to be covered for your personal property. If it's not one of those, no coverage for your personal property. That leaves a lot of exposure. Now, I could go through that 17 peril list. It's kind of a fun list. You got fire or lightning, windstorm or hail, riot or civil commotion, my personal favorite, volcanic action, because, we need that. Vehicles, aircraft, sudden and accidental electrical currents. So you do have some level of coverage for that. But there's going to be a bunch of things that can happen to your electronics that you may not find would meet any of those specific perils. So something to think about, and this again is whether you're a regular homeowner or a renter, is special form coverage for personal property. Now, to accomplish that on a homeowner policy, if you have a Form 3, just look to see if your company has a Form 5 policy. A Form 5 policy changes the verbiage and says, look, we're going to cover you for sudden and accidental loss to your structures and to your personal property. So then you're going to not have some limitations that would be in there when you get all these new Mother Nature events that are more aggressive in nature coming at you. Now, you're still not going to have coverage for flood. You're still not going to have coverage for earthquake. But all these electrical currents that can really zap and fry some of your expensive electronics are going to be properly covered, whereas they may not be so much on a Form 3. And on a renter's, a lot of companies now have an endorsement just called Special Form Coverage for Contents, which you can ask for. It's about $20 or $30, sometimes $50 or $60. It depends on how much limit of coverage you have, but that's kind of the ballpark pricing of what the difference is. It's worth it.
Injecting humor, but you'll still be protected from a volcano or an aircraft.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the only reason I say that is
or riot or civil commotion in whatever town you live in. So imagine you live in Newark.
Yeah.
You're covered for riot or civil commotion out in the, a quarter mile away from the road.
Well, I mean, it's good to think about this stuff. I used my computer as an example. Fortunately, I was okay. The power came back on. I had shut it off, so there wasn't a power surge when it did come back on.
Yep.
But there are some very flat panel TVs have gone down in price, but they're still very expensive. You mentioned a nice washer and dryer. I've seen some pretty expensive refrigerators, too.
I was just going to go that route. Refrigerators. I mean, there are refrigerators now that you touch the front of it and it shows you in the interior via a monitor, an LED monitor on your, you couldn't just open it and look to see what you got, I mean, this technology is advancing and the components and electronics and the ways that these items can fail are just increasing. And so when you don't have special form coverage for contents, you are kind of opening yourself up to some losses that may not be covered there.
So odd number forms 3, 5, and 7. I remembered that.
There is no 7.
Okay.
But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 5, there's 6, and for some reason there's an 8. I don't know what happened to 7.
I don't know. Maybe
I know what happened to usually 7, 8, 7, 8, 9. So that's why 9's not there.
Right. I'm thinking 7 might have been a meteorite. I don't know. But anyway.
So Forms 1, 2, and 3 are regular homes. 4 is a renter's policy. 5 is a regular home. 6 is a condo. 8 is an old pre-1940s type structure.
I'm sure too deep in there business coverage for this as well. And that we could save that for a whole nother day. But if folks would like to find out more about their insurance needs, get a quote from you and such, whether it's at your new location or online.
Yeah, you can give us a call, 748-5224. We are located at 229 Portland Street, Suite 101 in St. Johnsbury, which is exactly where Dr. Bob Hoppy's office was. He stopped in and said hi last week, got to take a look around and liked the things that we've done, so that was nice to see. You can also find us online, thebarrettagency.com, Google, Facebook, and YouTube. Just look for Barrett Insurance Agency, and no, we do not sell Frontline.
Okay. Rob and his wife, wonderful people.
Very nice people.
Wonderful people.
Yes.
That's your edition of Good Policies this week. Join us again next week. Mike, you stay safe and healthy.
You too.
And we go back to music.